Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Corvus Cornix, and welcome to Yacc, yet another Crowcast where I pick a game, I play it for a week, and then I talk about it. This week's game is Grand Theft Auto 3, and it was published in 2001 for the PS2, developed by DMA Designs, and published by Rockstar Games. There will be spoilers up ahead, just so you know, but first a little backstory. When I grew up, I had a buddy named Frank. Me and my brother used to go over to his place just to play Grand Theft Auto 3, and just not completing missions or anything like that, just gets as many stars as possible and survive, fun times. And later I got this game as well. I bought like a bundle for the PS2 which came with like Vice City and the third installment, GTA 3. And I got a cracked version for a PC, and later I got the game legit for PC, and now I'm playing it on this week for the on the PS4, which is an emulated port, which is kind of okay, but it's not very fluent and whatnot. So this game starts with Claude, the main character, robbing a bank with his girlfriend and one other. And it ends up that she betrays you and shoots you with a shotgun, and you're left for dead, and you get blamed for the whole thing and put behind bars. Later, there is like a prison convoy, and it gets attacked by the Colombians, or the cartel, I guess, and you manage to escape in the commotion with this other inmate called 8-Ball. So you drive to a safe house, and you change your clothes so you don't have like prison outfits on and things like that. So 8-Ball introduces you to another criminal mafioso which works in the red light district, and his name is Luigi. The club that he runs is called Sex Club 7, strip club or whatever. So Luigi gives you a job. You're supposed to pick up Misty, his girlfriend or hooker or whatever she is. So I always do this when I start a game of this. There's like a glass kind of garage, like a display garage of a fancy car called the Banshee. And I always go and pick that car because it's the fastest car you can get on the first island. There are 3 islands in this game. So due to the Colombians actually bombing the prison convoy, they actually destroyed the bridge, so it will be repaired later in the game so you can go to that place. And there are some sheets that will actually make the other islands available. You can make a tank fly by shooting the barrel behind you, whatnot, and gain speed, but that's a shitty way to do it, I guess. So anyway, you take your new fast car and you pick up Misty, your driver, to Luigi's strip club. And here are some mechanics that gets introduced as you play the missions. That's what it does. The game shows you the ropes. So if you do something illegal in this game, you get a star, and you can have like a maximum of 6 stars, I think. And these stars can be removed if you find star icons in alleyways and in the open, or you can go to it's like a garage which is called Pay and Spray, and you spray paint the car and the cops won't recognize you. And then there is the safe house where you save the game, and you have a garage as well. So this is kind of a nice little bonus. You can save one car in your garage, and you basically drive in the car into the garage and it's saved there, right? One of the other things that garage actually does, it's a magical garage. Yeah. So you can put in a broken car, and when you close the garage door and it goes up again, it's actually whole again. So it's a mechanic if you want to, make a car brand new without spending any money, or on the Pay and Spray and whatnot. And in this game, there are also other places or small missions that you can do, such as Rampage, and there's like these small remote cars where you can drive around and explode other like gang members and stuff. There's like the dark humor of this game. But the Rampage icon, for instance, you're supposed to kill a certain amount of people in a certain time with a certain weapon, and you get rewarded. So that's one of the mechanics. And there are other things in this game which are collectibles, I guess. There are 100 hidden packages that are being distributed throughout the 3 islands. There are about 30 to 33 on each island. And, well, when you collect a certain amount of packages, you get things delivered to your safe house, like guns and body armor and whatnot, depending on how many packages you have collected. So Uzis and shotguns and pistols and rocket launchers and sniper rifles and M16s and AK rifles and all these kind of crazy things. So it's a good thing to actually start collecting these packages because you get all these weapons for free. Otherwise, you have to buy them or unlock them at a place called Ammunition, which is like a painstaking progress, but most guns are actually distributed throughout the game. You can find them in alleyways and on rooftops. It's just like the other GTA games. You can find nice goodies lying around. And there are some other mechanics as well. You can do insane stunts. So there's like ramps and stuff out in the open. So if you manage to make a jump and actually land a car straight, you get money and bonuses from that. And there are a lot of things in this game that are good for starters. You can do vigilantes, which is actually you drive around in a police car and try to catch criminals. And there's a new trick that I learned this week, that if you chase a criminal and when you close up to the car, you can press the start button, go into the options menu, and you unpause and the rubber stops. I don't know if it's like a broken mechanic or something, but I figured this out. I watched like a YouTube video that makes catching criminals a lot easier. Then you have the ambulance, which you can drive around and save people that are bleeding. And it's kind of funny because it's on a timer, just like the vigilante mission. So a person just standing and blood is squirting out of their hands and stomach and whatnot, and you're just waiting casually for the ambulance to arrive, and you drive the ambulance back to the hospital. It's like a time thing. And you can also do these things with the taxi, collect fares. And there's an achievement tied to actually driving like 100 fares, and by the time you go through like 10 to 20 people, your car is mostly beat up anyway, so it's kind of a funny thing. This game is packed with like these funny missions, and there's even like, I know I'm ranting, but I love this game. So there's like a garage. On every island there is like a garage, and you have like a list on the door, so you're supposed to collect vehicles and deliver them there. And if you manage to collect all the cars, you can basically go to these garages and just pick them out, choose a car that you want, which is actually cool. And there are many other things you can like these security transports. As the mission progresses, you can actually deliver them to the harbor area as well, and you get cash for the security vans. This game is packed with hidden goodies and stuff. So the second mission that Luigi gives you is kind of a dark one. You're supposed to pick up a bat, kill a guy that's been picking up his girls. You're supposed to take the bat and just beat him down, but you can just run him over with a car, and then you take the car to the pay and spray, and you change the color of it, and you drive into one of Luigi's garages. And the next quest that Luigi gives you, or mission, is you're supposed to drive Misty to Joey's place. And Joey is like a mechanic. It's also a quest giver later in the game, so work will be available later for him as well. So another quest that Luigi gives you is you're supposed to take out a pimp, and it's kind of funny because the pimp is dressed in like a purple suit and has a purple hat, and you just pick up a gun at the ammunition at the shooting range on the backside, and you drive your car into his car, and he gets out. And beware of his shotgun because it hurts a lot. You take care of him and his bodyguard or whatever. You get some money for that. And even later you get some missions for Joey. You're supposed to rig a car with explosives at this kind of, I think he's like a traitor to the family or whatnot. So you're supposed to take, and this is one of those dark humor moments here. You take his car and you rig it with explosives, right? You go to 8-Ball and he fixes that, and the car that he's driving it's not supposed to be like damaged or anything, because then he might suspect that someone has been tampering with it. So you have to be careful when you drive it. So you leave it at the Italian restaurant where he left it, and when he goes out and sits in the car, that explodes. And the dark humor is like the Italian slogan. The slogan of the Italian restaurant is "Eat until you explode." And I thought it's obvious, dark humor, rockstar, right? And the last quest or mission that Luigi gives you is you're supposed to bring hookers to a police party. Yeah, pick them all up over the town. I suggest having a car like a taxi with lots of doors, and you can drive like 3 hookers at the same time and just leave them there. The fastest car in this game, I think, or on the first island, is the Benji, but it only has 1 seat, and you can have like the police car is super fast, but the taxi will do the job, and you have lots of spare time. And then Joey gives you a quest later on, Shunky Li Shong, which is this Chinese guy in Chinatown, and you're supposed to take him out. He's in the middle of like a Chinese street, and it's like a food court or like a food food stand, and you're supposed to hunt him down and shoot him down, and that's basically the whole mission. And in this game, you kind of ally yourself with certain gangs and factions. I haven't talked about it, but I guess I'll bring it up now. So you have the Triheads, which runs Chinatown. You have the Yakuzas, which are on the second island, and you have the Diablos, and you have the Italians, and there are a lot of factions. Donald Love is one of those other like factions. So if you ally yourself with one faction, the others hate you more or less, and they can start shooting at you. And you also have the Colombians. So no matter what you do, you're always going to be shot at. In the beginning, everything is like cool and it's fine, but as soon as you start ally yourself in doing missions, people will shoot at you all the time. So it's like we're just driving through a shortcut in Chinatown, and the triad says like, oh well, now you gotta get it because you did this and this, and shots are fired like everywhere, and cars are burning, and people are generally just crazy screaming, and I mean it's just full out gang war when you start to do these things. So later in the game, you go to pick up a guy called Tony, and he is a mafioso working for the Italians, and you drive into a Chinese laundromat. And it's one of those funny scenes because they haven't paid their protection money, and he just goes out in with a baseball bat, and they start shooting at him, and you driving to to Salvador's place. This is basically how things progress. You do a couple of missions, and then you get a new mission giver or provider, and then you never go back to the other givers again. So this eventually unlocks the Salvador, which is the head of the mafia family on this island. This storyline is basically where things go south because Salvador's daughter, I think her name is Maria, she has a friend. She's friends with the Yakuza, one of the I forgot what her name was, but that basically puts you in a lot of trouble, and Salvador thinks that you betrayed him. So you're supposed to dispose a car which is basically filled with human brains. Someone got shot, and you're supposed to drive it down to an alleyway, but you get a text message saying like the car is rigged with explosive, get out, and you take a boat to the other island, and now you're working for the Yakuza because you don't want to have anything to do with the Italian family. So now on the first island, and this is where the second island open up to you. You can start making or doing missions over there. So and at this point you're in bad odds with the Triads on the first island, and also the Italians, so not a good time. But this game is awesome anyway. You have other like quest givers, like a guy that has like a payphone basically next to Joey's place, and you answer the phone, and there's this funny dark humor. The quest giver has a factory called Bitch and Dog Food, and you basically take care of his wife, his ex-wife, and a lot of employees because he doesn't trust them. And it's like this dark humor where he actually makes dog food out of them. You just hear like a saw, like a machine saw, and it's very dark. And on the first island, you also have El Burro, which is a quest giver that gives you quest over phone. So he arranged street races, and that's what you do. You race in a car. So one tip for the street races is just don't think about the other racers. Just take it easy, because they will eventually drive themselves to death. If you just take it easy and go through checkpoints, you will be fine. And there are some cool things that open up later in the game. You can go to the other islands, and a favorite thing that I like to do is you go to the third island. Once that open up, you go to the airport. I think it's called Francis Airport or something, and you go and pick up the Dodo, which is a plane that is wingless. So or the wings are cut. It's basically a bird that can't fly, so Dodo makes sense. So you go back to the first island, and the Dodo can't necessarily fly, but there is a trick to it. Make it fly, I guess. So you pitch down the front of the plane, and you drive in a straight line, and once you start to see sparks on the front of the plane, you let go, and you level up the plane, and it kind of glides. So there's some secrets that you can discover. You can fly over everything basically if you just take it really easy. And you want to avoid going over stunts and jumps, because then it fixes on the camera, and it does that until you land. So you can get really funny, the plane kind of disappears out of view and everything goes in slow motion, and you just have to crash the plane because there's no other way to get out of the camera angle, I guess. So gameplay. Climb the ladders of the criminal underworld, become a big shot, and get revenge on your girlfriend in the end. Control, triangle steals or enters cars. X button makes you run, and if you tap the run button or the X button, you conserve stamina instead of holding it. Circle fires a gun. Square jumps. L3 access the car horn or the sirens of the police car. R3 triggers the vigilante mode on the police cars and missions in like the ambulance or the fares for the taxi and whatnot. L2 changes the radio station if you are in the car. But then there are a couple of radio stations that I like. I like Chatterbox the most, but I'm gonna get to that. R1 aims the weapon. The right stick or the D-pad moves the character around. Graphics. The engine that they use for this project is called the Renderware Engine, and it's also an interesting thing that this game took the GTA series from 2D to 3D, and it's kind of weird because it's an early PS2 title. It's a lot of motion blurs in like the cutscene and whatnot, and certain weather conditions trigger this as well. I mean, it makes sense when it's like dark because it's harder to track lights and stuff when it's dark and you get those lines. Sound and music. Craig Connor and Stuart Ross, they made a soundtrack for this game, and it has a lot of soundtracks that basically are ripped straight out of Scarface. So there's like I think it's one of the songs is like Push It to the Limit, and once it goes on, it's perfect. I get it. I like it, man. And then there is my favorite radio channel, which is called Chatterbox, and it's a talk show hosted by a guy named Laszlo. And there are some funny lines where just random weirdos call into his show and they talk about squirrels and eating goldfish, and some guy calls in talk about spanking and how he's been a bad boy, and there's this other girl that she calls in on a phone talking about how bad it is, the citizens raging against phones, and I remember it because it's printed in my mind, like citizens raging against phones, and Laszlo say, like, how many are there in this crap? And I thought it's like this brilliant thing because American commercials are crazy, and I didn't think it was so accurate to the truth, basically. Easter eggs, secrets, and glitches. There is a certain person that you can kill in this game. He's wearing like a trench coat, and when he dies, he drops like a notepad with a dick drawn on it. And I don't know what triggers this spawn, but I thought it was kind of weird. Well, why? Even. And there's like a thing you can shoot at the moon with a sniper rifle, and it changes the size of the moon. It works in Vice City as well. And there's like newspapers that drift around, and it's like if you read the newspaper, if you can zoom in on it, it talks about how Elvis is not dead, and it's a picture of you on it, and I don't know what that's about. And at the like Francis Airport, there's a statue which references the Forgotten Wars, and the statue is like holding a flag, and it has a traffic cone on its head for some reason. I thought that was funny. And there's like a weird thing. On the first island, you can enter a bank called Liberty City Bank in Chinatown. So you enter the place and you can walk around. There's no security or anything. And you can go down into the vault. And in the vault, there is a blown up wall with bricks. And you can follow it down to like a sewer system. And I thought this might be a part of a mission or something because it's really cool. Like maybe it's a reference to like a heist or something that they were working on, but it's a really cool fine detail. There's a place on the third island when you jump over like a couple of concrete walls behind like a garage area, and there's like a sign on the wall from the developers saying like, you're not supposed to be able to get here, and I thought that was super funny. And you can also fly the dodo if you manage to get up in the air, that is. I think that's on the third or second island. You can fly over the stadium, and there's like a message written on the seats that you can see from the air. It just says Cox, like the Liberty City Cox or something, and I thought that was super funny. So in conclusion, I wrote yes, this is one of my favorites game ever, and I've owned it for like every platform that I could. So, I mean, it's a nostalgia trip for me, and I know this game like in the back of my hand. The only problems I have with this version of which is on the PS4 is like the motion blur, and it's a bit janky sometimes. The emulation is not quite correct, but And also, there's like a small little nitpicky thing. I think the PC version is better because you aim with the mouse and every weapon becomes much easier to handle. In the PS2 or PS4 version, it has like a trigger thingy when you aim, so it's not that you can trigger and shoot at anything at will. You have to it's not working every time. But that's about it. Basically, I love this game and I can definitely recommend it. As I said, it took Grand Theft Auto from 2D to 3D, and it wasn't painless, but at least it's playable. And I wouldn't recommend the deluxe version that came out recently because it's like smoothing out the graphics and it looks worse. I don't know how they manage, but everything comes at a cost, I guess. So anyway, thanks for listening and or watching, and take care.